When I look back at the men I chose to love, it's clear now. I wasn't choosing with my heart. I was choosing with my trauma. I was a dismissive, avoidant attachment style woman who had no clue of what a healthy, secured attachment style of loving was. Welcome, my loves, to the Hardened and Healed Podcast.
Hey loves, I'm home. Hey loves, let's sit on down. So first off, as always, thank you so much for allowing me into your home again for another episode of the Hardened and Healed Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about childhood trauma and how it affects our adulthood life and how we are trying to heal and get to the other side, because we don't want to be those disturbed, broken little children anymore. We want to be thriving adults that have healthy, manageable relationships with our peers, our partners, our family, and friends. So what better else place to do it but here with me, London, your host and your healologist. I am here to help you get to the other side. So you may be asking what the other side looks like. If this is your first time seeing this podcast and you have not reviewed the other episodes prior to now, let's get into that. Let's explain exactly what that is when I say get to the other side. So there is a broken side and then there's a healed side. And this is to everybody in every aspect in life. It could be in your career, in your marriage, in your relationships with your children or with your siblings or with your parents. There's always a little bit of turmoil at one time or another. And a lot of times it's just based on how we handle relationships. And that's going to come from our adolescence. And even before then, as early as in the womb. Now you're like, London, how does what happened to me while I was in my mother's womb affect me now? Well, it really does, because when we are in the womb with our mothers, we are taking on the energy and the emotions that they are experiencing. This is prior to us developing our own. And so that is really the kickstart of how we are starting to develop to become who we are emotionally. Once our parent gives birth to us and we start having outside experiences, which are the experiences outside the womb and interactions with other people, we build upon what we already experience. Now that could be good, bad, or indifferent, but it definitely does help to cultivate the person and adult we become. Now, why is this important? It's extremely important because the relationships that we have are going to be directly connected to our triggers. Triggers? What are triggers? Triggers are the things that make you spaz, or as they say now, crash out. Triggers are the actions of others that make you respond in an unhealthy, toxic, or negative way. A lot of times those triggers are ambushed, right? Because the people who are triggering them aren't intentionally doing it, at least not everyone. So it's like an ambush to your emotions, because one minute you're good and the next minute you're not. And so if you don't have a healthy emotional balance, then you won't know how to either prevent triggers from happening or how to do damage control after they have. Now, prior to now, I have been advising everybody to take the assessment test. It is basically an emotional assessment test, and it tells you your emotional attachment style. Now, the ones that I previously listed, and if you go back and check, they've been removed. It's because at some point they started requiring some type of monthly membership or some type of fee for you to get the information. So I want you to know that I am effectively right now creating my own assessment test that will be free for you to use. I'm partnering with someone and they're helping to walk me through that process. So I'm hoping to have that available for you guys within the next couple of episodes. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and list the types of attachment styles here, and then you could actually Google and do the research for yourself. Now, you may be able to just read it and know which one applies to you. I'm going to be honest, it's really that simple. So even without taking the actual test itself, if you read the characteristics and the traits of these particular attachment styles, you'll be able to find yourself in there. Now, sometimes if you're somewhere in the middle, this is the purpose for taking the test. The test will help you narrow it down and be more specific to what your attachment style is. At the time when I saw the attachment styles, I discovered and knew without a shadow of a doubt that I was a dismissive avoidant. I would say honestly about 99% of what was listed there was me. So it was easy to identify. However, here's the kicker. When I did take the assessment attachment style test, I came back as secured. Now, what that means is that there is secured and then there's unsecured. The attachment styles that I listed are under the unsecured, and I had done the work and have been on my healing journey. And when I took the test, it showed me as secure. So this tells me that I am operating way more healthier than I have ever before. I'm emotionally stable, I'm emotionally sound, and I'm not being triggered and making impulsive decisions because somebody pressed those buttons. Y'all have heard those sayings like, don't press my button, or you know how to get a rise out of me. Well, you're totally in control of that. So knowing your attachment style not only puts you in the driver's seat, but it tells you when to pump the brakes. You get to say, I'm not about to crash out. I am not about to have a 3, 4, 5 car pile up. Nope, I'm going to go ahead and switch lanes, and I'm going to let you go ahead and pass by. Now, the great thing about knowing your attachment style when dating, if you're not currently in a relationship, is that you now know what your triggers are and you're able to convey that. You're able to convey it in a way where you're not necessarily saying, I need you to do this to be with me, but you are able to say, hey, these particular characteristics are not going to work for me, at least not in the present day, not right now. I am on a healing journey, or I have established my healing journey, and I realize that these type of behaviors aren't good for me. They're not the type of behaviors that I care to entertain. And this is where your boundaries come in at, because you have to set them. Now, I do kind of want to get into when it comes to men dating women and why men seem to settle. That seems to be the conversation everywhere, that men never really get the women that they want. They settle for the woman that wants them. I could agree with that to some degree, but believe it or not, it's not all physical. A man not getting the woman of his dreams is not solely because of the way he looks. It is because of the energy that he possessed. And if you want a woman that is emotionally stable and emotionally secured, you're gonna not only have to be that, but you're also gonna have to be in a state where you are able to attract that. So if you are not that, you're not gonna get that. I don't care what you look like. It'll start off that way, but I guarantee you, when you pull back the layers from her, she's gonna be toxic. She's going to be unstable. She's going to be insecure. And the reason being is because when you're in an unhealthy state, you kind of partner with like-minded. You see someone of your equal. And so how you gauge yourself is basically by the partner that you choose. Now, can you choose an unhealthy partner because you're unhealthy and then at a later date in time become healthy? Of course. That happens. The good thing is if you have a partner that is willing to heal as well, then y'all can go on that journey together. The bad thing is if you have a partner that isn't, it is going to be a push and pull relationship the entire time. So that is why also in dating, you have to be mindful of who you are and what you are attracting. If you're attracting men that are disrespectful, if you're attracting men that are vulgar or nonchalant or any of those behaviors that does not rub right with you, you have to look within. Same thing for men. Men are settling for women that they can get because they are not the best version of themselves. I guarantee you, if a man is the best version of himself, he's only going to attract that. He's only going to desire that. And he's only going to have that. He's not going to settle. He is not going to break his boundaries. But he also has to be the best version of himself. Because if a woman comes along and she's the best version of herself, she's not going to want to settle. Now, women are more likely to settle because by nature we are nurturers. So we always feel like maybe we can fix, maybe we can help. But you got to know that if you are a pretty jacked up individual, and you know if you are, and women are drawn to you, trust me, they're jacked up individuals too. I hate to say it, but birds of a feather flock together. Right? She's going to tolerate your toxicity because she's equally as toxic, if not more. I realized that some of the more healthier relationships that I could not identify with when I was in my unhealthy emotional state walked away. They tried for as long as they could, and then they gave up. Those who fought to stay were equally toxic. And so we were both looking for somebody to put up with our mess. Now, do we want to be toxic? No, we don't. Do we always know that we're toxic? No, we don't. So finding out your attachment style is pivotal to evolving into the person that God has called you to be. God has not called us to be toxic. In fact, sin wasn't even his thing. We already know who created that. So operating in low vibration, as people say, is not of our most highest power. That's not what God envisioned for us. That's not what he called us to. So when you are settling, and this is more so to men, because I hear this more when it pertains to men, you are settling because you're not willing to step your game up and operate in your highest value. Now, this does not mean money. You can make 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures. You can be a billionaire. If you're not operating to your highest capacity, then you're not going to find a woman that is going to be able to take you there, right? When women come on as a partner and it's a partnership, it's a helpmate. It is to help build what is already there. If it's not there, only God makes something out of nothing. We women are strong beings and we can do a whole lot. But we're not magicians and we're certainly not God. So the more you give us to work with, the more that we can create and cultivate and build. Ultimately, that's what we want. But if you get a woman who you want to be so submissive that she has little to contribute, but yes, sir, and no, sir, where is the cohesiveness to grow? Now, some men say, I already have my empire. I don't need a woman to help me build that. I just need her to be supportive and maybe maintain the home. Even in that, you have to provide what that is. You have to have that home. You have to have that direction. Men want women to follow when they're not leading. That is insane. That is insane. And a lot of times it is hard to lead when the inner child in you is bruised and broken. A boy who has mommy issues just turns into a man with mommy issues. And who represents a mommy? Any female he comes in contact with. The amount of respect he gives or doesn't give, the amount of attention he gives or doesn't give, the amount of love he gives or doesn't give is going to be directly connected to the relationships he had in his childhood. Whether he was raised by his mom, a stepmom, a nana, granny, big ma, whatever you want to call it, that is going to be the first establishment of his relationship with a woman. And the same goes with the little girl and her father, or lack thereof. So a lot of times we're putting the pressure of what is missing in our childhood on our partners today, and they have no clue. They have no clue of what's missing because we haven't had those conversations. They have no clue of how to fix it. They're operating in their own duress and their own traumas. And so we put those together and it's just a nightmare of events that keep happening. I am so grateful for the relationships that I've had up until this point, even the ones that I thought were the worst and that brought out the worst in me. I'm thankful for those relationships because I am now able to look back and see the triggers. I'm able to see the child that was fighting, that was confused, that was anxious, that was angry. I'm able to look back and peel back those layers and say, wow, what I really needed in that moment was a hug. I needed to be held. I needed to be supported. I needed to be understood. I needed to be acknowledged. And because I lacked those things in those moments and times, those experiences created a different woman, one that I wasn't always proud of, but I respected. Because even when I was going ham, as they say, I knew the reasonings, or so I thought. I was defending the part of me that was defenseless coming up. And though I did not have the emotional balance at that time to operate in a way that was healthy, I was still standing up for me. A lot of the relationships that we are in, people are still standing up for that child. But we have to heal the child. We constantly defend the child, but when are we going to heal that child? When are we going to put those nightmares to rest? When are we going to address the elephant in the room? If you have not experienced physical abuse or sexual abuse or verbal abuse, that does not mean that you did not experience abuse. There is mental and there is emotional. And I'm here advocating for the emotional abuse because that is a real thing. Sometimes scars heal. Sometimes, words don't matter. Even certain physical assaults, they never go away, but they don't show up unless being triggered. And we tend to avoid those type of situations. But emotional trauma, it is vulnerable daily. It is out there. It's like when people say, don't wear your feelings on your sleeve. It is available and touchable to all that you come in contact with. Everybody you come in contact with is not going to sexually assault you. Everybody you come in contact with is not going to verbally assault you. Everybody you come in contact with physically is not going to physically assault you. But emotionally, if you don't deal with your emotions, they're going to be ambushed every chance possible. Whether at the grocery store, whether at home, whether at work, even yourself, you can emotionally attack yourself. Your size, your looks, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you eat, the way you look, how much you weigh, how little you weigh, your skin, your hair, just all these things, all these emotions running rampant. And you can't avoid emotions. You have to have them. You have to. But not delegating what emotions and when will take you on an emotional roller coaster that will destroy all the relationships you come in contact with. It makes your picker bad. You pick bad partners or wrong partners. You pick wrong jobs. You pick wrong places to stay, wrong places to live, wrong places to work, wrong places to eat at, wrong places to meet people. You just pick wrong. And these things might seem very minute, but they're very big. Picking where you live, when it's not based on the dollar, but it's based on the environment, says a lot. You may pick some place where there may be little population, neighbors miles away. There's a reason for that. Or you might choose to pick a city life where it's congested and you have a neighbor next door, there's horns outside honking. That might be your norm. There's a reason for that. Your partner that you pick. You may pick someone that is abusive, physically and verbally. You may pick someone that is passive, that you can walk over and bully your way around. There's a reasoning for that. When it comes to jobs, you might pick a lesser job or a lesser position, feeling inferior. Or you might be a go-getter. You may always try to climb the corporate ladder or be an entrepreneur because you don't want to be micromanaged or you don't want to be critiqued or criticized. There's so many attachments to why we pick what we pick, and those attachments are directly attached to our childhood. So sit down. Take today, take tomorrow, take the week, take the rest of the month. Sit down and ask yourself, why did you make the decisions that you made? From the people you dated, to the people you married, to the relationships with your siblings, with your parents, with your children. Why are you in the field that you are in? Why did you pick the job or jobs? Why are you self-employed? Why are you at the bottom of the totem pole? Why are you most praised, and why are you at the top of your game? What's your friend circle like? Is there a circle? Is there a few friends? Are there no friends? Are there many friends? Are you trustworthy? Do you trust people? When I tell you the list goes on and on and on and on, it really does. But again, it's attached to your childhood. You have a lot of friends or no friends at all because of your childhood. I can guarantee you it. You date a certain type of man or a certain type of woman based on your childhood. It could be what you saw or what you didn't see. Maybe you grew up watching the Cosbys and that is the lifestyle that you aim to have. Or maybe you watched the Jeffersons. Or maybe you watched Good Times, where there was always a struggle and the struggle was real. But it didn't matter because they were family oriented, and as long as they came together, that's all that mattered. So I'm prescribing homework. And that homework is to sit down and really think. Think about where you are in life. Think about the choices that led you there. And let's take some accountability, right? Because even though I'm tying everything to childhood, you are still an adult. And you are now responsible for that child that was not responsible for themselves growing up. You now get to fix him or her. You do. And if you don't know where to begin, I would say first is with counseling. Sign up. If counseling is available through your job, get it. If it's available through your insurance, get it. If you can't afford counseling, you may have some type of spiritual advisor, your pastor or your deacon or deaconess at your church. Tie in, tap in. That's the first start, seeking help. Then once you're able to establish that and you're able to see the correlations and connections between the child in you and the adult in you, then you get to grow up. You know how you say, so-and-so needs to grow up. They really are immature. You're not lying. Slashing tires, busting windows, bleaching clothes. It's all childish. It's all immature behavior. It is a form of a temper tantrum. Blowing up someone's phone, yelling or screaming, even tracking them down, even getting in a car and following them or staking them out. That's insane. That is childhood neglect, childhood abandonment, and childhood rejection all rearing its ugly head. For you to find out what you already know. You don't want to be healed from that? I know I did. I feel like everything has an expiration date. So, even in being unhealed and emotionally unstable, that has to have an exit date. We have to be so far beyond that it is not only not our norm, but it's not even recognizable. Like, what? Even when we take pride in saying, oh, don't take me back to who I was. Let's stop saying that. We don't want to go back to that person. That person's always there, but we have control over that person. And that person is not about to wreak havoc and tear up our lives because we can't control the things or the people that's going on in our lives. We can and we will. We will. Because right now we just want to be better versions of ourselves and have healthy relationships, thriving lives, thriving careers, and just being happy. And that is possible. I promise it is possible. But I'm not going to be in your home much longer. I know it's a dreary and gloomy day for some of you. For others, y'all are probably basking in sun and enjoying the weather. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of your way. I thank you again for allowing me into your home. And if you made it this far, then you know you're only missing one thing to do. That is subscribe. Have you not subscribed yet? And hit that notification bell? How else are you going to know every time I upload a new episode? I know it's the same day, same time, but sometimes things happen. Life be lifing. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it. Please share it with someone that you think could benefit from this education and knowledge. And yes, I hear my ride. So I'm going to get ready to go. But as you know, until next time, bye, loves. Now, if you enjoyed this episode of the Hardened Healed Podcast, go ahead and subscribe, share with a friend, and turn on your notification button so that you don't miss an episode.